The economy grew a paltry 0.3% in the 3 months to September. That's less than 1% over a full year. Propped up, as we pointed out last night, by record government spending. The Treasurer tried to put a positive spin on the numbers while trashing the coalition.
Rather avoid a hard landing than clean up after one. And we're seeing elements of a soft landing here, and that gives us encouragement that acknowledging people are still doing it tough and growth is still weak in the economy. If we'd made the sorts of decisions urged on us by our opponents and our critics, growth would be weaker and people would be getting less help and they'd be worse off.
Oh, we're supposed to be oh so grateful to Jim Chalmers. He's managing things just smoothly according to his own assessments, but Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor was having none of it.
This outcome reflects the complete and utter failure of Labor's Big Australia, big government policies. We have seen our population increase by almost 1.6 million since Labor came to power at a much faster rate than we had previously seen. We see a person arriving to live in this country every 44 seconds. Every 44 seconds. And of course, that population rate growth is outpacing substantially the growth in the economy.
Let's bring in the Shadow Resources Minister, Susan McDonald, joining us from Brisbane. Good to talk to you, Susan. This immigration factor is key, right? Because it's sort of helping to bump up the numbers, increase the size of the economy, but it means that as a share, as a personal share, we're all getting poorer. There is a ongoing per capita recession.
Well, that's exactly right, Chris. We've had 6 falls in the GDP per capita over 6 quarters. This is disastrous for Australians. It is a failure of the Labor's policies. And what we're seeing is record insolvencies for businesses. This is a race we don't want to keep winning. Each month we're having greater records. Productivity is down by 6.3% since Labor came into government 2 years ago, 2 and a bit years ago. But at every turn, this is a government that's failing Australians, and the population, the immigration increase is just one more example, because right across the country, what I'm seeing is the sort of visas, the sort of workforce that we're looking for, people coming into real jobs that grow businesses, that's not happening. Instead, I think we're seeing a huge number of people coming in who don't have employment, and they aren't actually adding to the economy at all, Chris. We're just seeing Australians hurt more, go backwards, and I think that's the consistent theme, is that Australians will tell you that they feel worse off. It doesn't matter what Jim Chalmers says, they are worse off. Well,
people are worse off. The facts bear that out. Per capita, we're going backwards, so people are poorer. As you say, for 6 quarters in a row. I think it might have been the 7th quarter this time around. So 7 quarters in a row, people are actually poorer. Yet the government's share of the economy continues to increase, 28% now. It's such a worry. I showed some stats last night on the labour force showing that the top 3 growth areas in jobs growth in the country are in areas dominated by the government, in health and disability services, in administration. This is a worry, isn't it? We need the productive private sector parts of the economy to grow, not the number of public servants.
That's exactly right, Chris. I kept wondering why every business I was seeing was telling me that they were having to cut back on employment, reduce staff numbers, or worse, go out of business. But we weren't seeing it in the employment numbers. In the last quarter, we saw 417,000 private sector jobs go, but it was completely disguised by the government putting on more than that into public sector jobs. Now, those jobs are valuable and those people are valuable, but we need businesses that pay taxes. We need people that grow the economy, because if we keep spending money on government jobs, we will run out of people to pay for them. This is structurally a very difficult situation, and Australians should all be incredibly concerned about the damage that this Albanese Labor government has done in only 2.5 years.
Well, this is
2.5 years to make such structural damage.
Susan McDonald, this is the conundrum, though, isn't it? Say if the coalition were to win government back next year and suddenly get control of the Treasury benches. The issue is that it is structural and you do need to wind back on that government spending. But on the current situation, if you wind back on that government spending, you're going to tip the country into recession and obviously see unemployment rise. I mean, it's a very, very difficult situation to manage.
It really is. And I know that one of the things you've been following closely is the gas shortages. AEMO has made another warning. These are Victorian manufacturing jobs. And yet, at the same time, one of the pieces of legislation that Labor jammed through last week was the Future Made in Australia, which has a commitment to not fund any future gas or coal projects. At the same time that we have a gas shortage and we are desperately trying to save Australian manufacturing jobs, be able to cool and warm Australian houses, and ensure that the Victorian economy doesn't completely tank.
Well, this is where the energy debate. This is where the energy debate just plays so strongly into the economic debate, the broader economic debate. We need a productive economy. We need agriculture and manufacturing and mining to keep expanding, and yet we're burdening ourselves with ever more expensive and less reliable energy.
That's exactly right. I think that this is, we've watched Labor fail in Victoria over a long period of time. Labor federally under Albanese is doubling down on these failures. And I think that when we see jobs offshored, so we're losing them not just in Victoria, but we're losing them to Australia, this is something that Australians should be very angry about and worried about. What does the future look like if all the jobs that are coming on are all government jobs, but the productive jobs, the jobs that grow the economy, that pay the taxes, that ensure that we enjoy the first world lifestyle that we have, we're seeing those exit the country as soon as we can, Chris. It's
hell of a worry,
worrying.
Hell of a problem. Thanks for joining us, Susan. I appreciate it. Very depressing outlook, isn't it? You've got to be very pessimistic when you look at it in those terms, but that is what's happening and that's why it needs to change.